Something is watching you, waiting for the moment you close your eyes. Not every night is just sleep. Some nights are spiritual battlegrounds. What if I told you 4 simple words can shut down an entire demonic attack? An X witch has broken the silence and exposed what they fear the most. Why do these words terrify the unseen realm? And why were you never taught this? Tonight, you're about to take back control. You were never told this, but the night is not neutral. The moment your body becomes still, your spirit becomes a target. This is where most attacks begin. Quiet, invisible, undetected. And that's exactly how they want it. The X-Witch didn't hesitate when she said it. We waited for the moment you fell asleep, not because sleep is weak, but because unguarded sleep is open access. You think you're resting, but in the spirit realm, doors are either sealed or wide open. There is no in between. She described how they monitored patterns, your habits, your emotional state before bed. Fear, anger, unforgiveness, these weren't just emotions to them. They were signals, invitations, legal access points. And once access was granted, operations began. Slow oppression, nightmares, sleep paralysis, sudden fear at 3 a.m. You thought it was random. It wasn't. It was calculated, targeted, assigned. She revealed something chilling. Most people lose battles they don't even know they're fighting. Because silence before sleep is not protection. Your quiet mind can become an open field. And that's where these 4 words come in. She said everything changed when someone spoke them. Everything. Atmosphere shifted instantly. Presence disrupted. Assignments cancelled. Why? Because these words are not just words. They are authority. They are a declaration that you are not unguarded, that you are not unaware, that you are not accessible. Demons don't fear noise. They don't fear routine prayers repeated without understanding. They fear authority backed by truth. And these 4 words carry it. She admitted it clearly. When those words were spoken, we had to step back, not slowly, not eventually, instantly. Because in the spirit realm, recognition of authority is immediate. There is no debate, no negotiation, only response. And most people never activate it. They go to bed scrolling their phone, draining their mind, feeding distraction, and then expect peace. But peace is not automatic. It is enforced. You don't drift into spiritual protection. You establish it. This is where everything begins to shift for you, because now you know the battlefield is real and the timing is predictable. Right before sleep, right when your guard drops, that's when it matters most. The X-Witch explained that certain individuals were harder to approach, not because they were perfect, but because they were aware. They didn't wait for fear to show up. They didn't react. They initiated, every night, deliberately, consistently. And when those 4 words were spoken, it was like a barrier went up, a line drawn, a command issued, no access. And darkness understands that language better than you think. You were never meant to sleep defenseless. You were never meant to be spiritually passive. That's the lie that kept you vulnerable. That's the silence that allowed repeated attacks. But now, something is changing, because awareness breaks patterns and authority breaks cycles. The moment you understand what's happening, you stop being a victim. You become a force. And tonight, you don't go to sleep the same way. You don't enter the night empty. You don't leave your spirit uncovered. You speak. You declare. You establish authority. Before your eyes even close. Because those 4 words, they are not optional. They are a weapon. And in the wrong hands, they mean nothing. But in your mouth, with understanding, they become unstoppable. The X-Witch ended her statement with a warning: most attacks succeed because no one stops them. Let that sink in. Not because they were too strong, but because no one resisted, no one enforced authority. No one spoke, but you're not staying silent anymore. Not tonight. Not again. The X-Witch leaned forward and her voice dropped. Those 4 words were never meant to be casual. She said most believers say them, but almost none understand them. And that is where power is lost. Because in the spirit realm, words are not judged by volume. They are measured by authority. You can whisper with authority and shake darkness, or shout without it, and nothing moves. This is where everything becomes serious. Because those 4 words are not magic. They are legal. They operate on spiritual law. And when spoken with understanding, they activate something immediate. She revealed it clearly. When someone said those words with full awareness, We couldn't stay, not because they were loud, not because they were emotional, but because they knew exactly what they were invoking. Authority has a language, and darkness recognizes it instantly. You have to understand this. Demons don't respond to fear driven prayers, they respond to enforced truth. This is why some nights feel heavy even when you pray, because repetition without revelation produces no resistance. You say words, but you don't stand in them. You speak, but you don't believe. And the spirit realm knows the difference. The ex witch explained how they could tell who was aware and who was just repeating. She said it was obvious. One carried weight, the other carried sound, and only one forced them to retreat. Now listen carefully, because this is where your nights begin to change. Those four words carry identity. They remind darkness who you belong to. They establish jurisdiction. They declare alignment with a higher authority. And once that authority is recognized, every illegal presence must respond, not later, immediately. This is why she said they feared certain homes, not because of what they saw physically, but because of what was declared spiritually. Every night, before sleep, a boundary was enforced. A command was issued, and it wasn't passive. It was direct, clear, uncompromising. You need to understand something most people ignore. Silence is not neutral. If you don't establish authority, something else will attempt to. That's why unguarded nights become patterns. Recurring fear, unexplained heaviness, disturbing dreams, because no one closed the door, no one spoke with authority, no one declared alignment, and darkness thrives in that gap. But the moment those four words are spoken with full awareness, that gap disappears instantly. The ex witch described it like this: it felt like hitting a wall we couldn't pass, not a delay, not resistance, a complete stop. Because authority doesn't negotiate, it enforces. And when you understand what you're carrying, everything shifts. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your expectation changes. You don't hope for peace, you command it. You don't wait for protection, you establish it. And that's what those four words do. They shift you from passive to positioned, from vulnerable to covered, from unaware to activated. But here's the warning she gave: knowing the words without living the authority weakens the effect. That's where many people miss it. They speak, but their life contradicts the authority. They declare, but they don't stand in truth. And that creates inconsistency. But when alignment is present, when belief is solid, when authority is understood, those four words become unstoppable. The atmosphere doesn't argue, it responds immediately. This is why some people sleep in peace while others fight every night. It's not random, it's not luck, it's alignment and authority. And now you're starting to see it. You're starting to understand that this isn't about fear, it's about position. And once you take your position, darkness has no option. It must retreat every time, no exception. The ex witch ended this part with a statement that cannot be ignored: we never attacked where authority was consistently enforced. Think about that. Not occasionally, not emotionally. Consistently, because consistency builds a barrier that darkness stops testing. And tonight, that consistency begins with you. Not tomorrow, not someday. Tonight. The ex witch didn't just reveal what works, she exposed what fails. And this is where many people lose the battle every single night. She said it plainly: most believers don't lose because demons are strong, they lose because they are inconsistent. That truth hits hard because it means the problem was never power, it was pattern. You pray one night, then skip the next. You speak with authority once, then fall into silence again. You declare truth when you feel afraid, but stay quiet when everything feels normal. And that inconsistency creates gaps, openings, moments of excess. The spirit realm is not confused. It tracks patterns, it watches cycles, it studies behavior. The ex witch described how they observed routines like a schedule: when you sleep, how you sleep, what you do before sleep, what you say or don't say. Nothing was ignored, because patterns reveal permission, and permission invites presence. This is why some attacks feel repetitive: the same fear, the same heaviness, the same kind of dreams, over and over again. It's not coincidence. It's access that was never fully closed. She revealed something deeper. There were people we returned to because they never fully resisted. Let that sink in. Not because they couldn't resist, but because they didn't stay consistent. They stopped enforcing authority. They relaxed their guard. They assumed one moment of victory was enough. But spiritual authority is not a one-time event. It's a maintained position, daily, nightly, without exception. This is where the four words become more than a reaction. They become a routine, a lifestyle, a constant declaration, because consistency builds strength in the spirit, and strength creates resistance, real resistance, not temporary relief, permanent shift. The ex-witch said there were homes they eventually stopped approaching, completely, not because they weren't assigned, but because access was impossible. Every night, the same authority. Every night, the same declaration. Every night, the same enforcement. No gaps, no silence, no compromise. And eventually, they stopped trying. That's the level you were meant to walk in. Not occasional peace, not temporary rest, but consistent dominion, where your nights are not battles anymore, because the war was already settled before you even slept. But here's the warning you cannot ignore: familiarity kills intensity. You start strong, focused, then over time, it becomes routine without awareness, words without weights, declarations without fire, and slowly, authority weakens. Not because it disappeared, but because you disconnected from it. The ex-witch said they could sense that shift immediately. When the words lost meaning, we noticed, and that's when they tested again, pushed again, attempted access again. This is why you must stay alert, not afraid, alert, aware of what you're doing, aware of what you're saying, aware of what you carry. Because these four words are not a ritual, they are a weapon. And weapons must be used with intention, with clarity, with full understanding. You don't speak them casually. You enforce them deliberately. Every night, you make a decision. Will you guard your atmosphere or leave it unprotected? Will you speak with authority or remain silent and hope for peace? Because hope without action leaves doors open, and the spirit realm does not ignore open doors. But the moment you stay consistent, everything stabilizes. Your sleep deepens, your mind quiets, your atmosphere shifts. Because authority is no longer occasional, it becomes your standard. And standards create boundaries, boundaries that darkness cannot cross. The ex-witch envied this revelation with something that should stay with you. Consistency is what made us stop. Not emotion, not intensity. Consistency, daily enforcement, unshaken pattern. That's what builds real protection. And that's what most people never reach, because they stop too soon, they relax too early. They assume too quickly, but you're not stopping, not this time. Because now you know the power was never missing. It just needed to be sustained. Now the ex-witch revealed the final layer, the part they never wanted exposed. She said it was never just the words, it was the authority behind them. This is where everything either activates or falls apart. Because many people are waiting for a formula, a shortcut, a phrase they can repeat without transformation. But that's not how this works. Those four words are powerful, but only when you understand who you are when you speak them. Identity is everything. Without identity, words are empty. With identity, words become commands. She explained that when someone spoke those words with full conviction, it wasn't just sound entering the atmosphere. It was authority being enforced, a higher order being established, and darkness had no argument against it. This is what you must understand right now. You are not begging for protection. You are enforcing it. You are not asking for peace. You are establishing it. That shift alone changes everything. Because the moment you see yourself as powerless, your words lose weight. But the moment you recognize your authority, everything you say carries force. The ex-witch described encounters where believers didn't even raise their voice, but their presence alone disrupted everything. Why? Because they knew. They weren't guessing. They weren't hoping. They were certain. And certainty is dangerous to darkness, because it removes hesitation. It eliminates doubt. It establishes dominion. This is why those four words must be spoken from a place of knowing, not fear, not desperation, but authority. Calm, firm, unshakable. She said the ones who knew who they were, we avoided them completely. Not attacked less, avoided completely. Because identity-backed authority is untouchable. And that's the level you're stepping into. No more guessing. No more reacting. You move first. You speak first. You establish first, before anything even attempts to approach. But there's something deeper you must confront: doubt, internal hesitation, that quiet voice that says, is this really working? That voice weakens authority. not because the power is gone, but because you disconnect from it. The X switch said doubt was one of the biggest openings. When they questioned their authority, it gave us room. That's why you cannot afford uncertainty. You must be rooted, grounded, fully convinced of what you carry. Because when conviction is solid, your words hit differently. They don't float, they land, they enforce, they establish. This is not about perfection, it's about position. Standing where you were meant to stand, speaking from where you were meant to speak, acting from authority, not emotion. And when you do that, those four words become unstoppable, not because of repetition, but because of revelation. The X which ended everything with one final statement, and it changed everything. She said, "We feared them not because of what they said, but because of who stood behind their words." That's the key. That's the secret. That's the difference. It's not just your voice, it's the authority backing it. And once that is established, darkness doesn't test it, it retreats from it immediately. This is your moment of decision. Will you continue sleeping unaware, or will you step into authority? Will you keep hoping for peaceful nights, or will you enforce them? Because now you know the truth. Now you understand the pattern. Now you carry the awareness. And tonight, everything changes. You don't whisper weak words. You don't repeat empty phrases. You stand. You declare. You enforce. With full authority. With full understanding. With zero doubt. And when those four words leave your mouth tonight, they won't be ordinary. They will be a command, a boundary, a force that darkness cannot cross. Not anymore. Not ever again. Tonight, you don't sleep the same way. Tonight, you take back what was silently taken. No more fear, no more cycles. You carry authority, and now you know it. Let every word you speak become a command, not a request. Let every night become a territory of peace, enforced by you. And from this moment forward, darkness doesn't approach, it flees.